AITA for refusing to accept paternity after my ex's 90-day break exposed conflicting timelines. I'm Henry, 35, and by the time this happened, Maya and I had been together a little over 6 years. We were not engaged, but we had moved past talking about the future like it was some distant possibility. We had discussed rings, kids, whose family would get which holidays, and what parts of our lives would have to change if we became parents. Every Sunday night, I lined up the tea she liked beside the chipped blue mug she always grabbed on Monday mornings. I kept extra hair ties in the bathroom drawer because she lost them constantly. She bought the same brand of crackers every week because I ate them when I was stressed. Our life was ordinary, familiar, and serious enough that I mistook stability for certainty. That didn't mean the relationship was perfect. By the last year, Maya had started saying we were too predictable. At first, she said it lightly. "I already know what you're going to say before you say it," she told me one night while we were folding laundry. "That sounds efficient," I said. She did not laugh. I tried to take her seriously after that. I planned dinners somewhere other than our usual places. I suggested a weekend trip, then counseling when she said a trip would only distract us for a few days. She said counseling made the problem sound clinical. "I don't need a meeting about how to feel wanted," she said. That landed harder than I admitted. My instinct when something was wrong was to fix the schedule, the budget, or the practical obstacle. Maya wanted intensity. I kept offering reliability. Around the same time, Evan started appearing in her stories. Evan was someone she had dated years before me. I knew the name, but until then he had been part of the harmless history people summarize when a relationship becomes serious. Then he moved back into her social circle through mutual friends. At first Evan was at Tessa's birthday dinner. Then, Evan thinks people stay in safe relationships because leaving is scary. Then, Evan says you can love someone and still not choose them. The third time she quoted him during an argument about us, I asked her directly whether he was becoming part of the problem. Maya put her phone face down on the counter. "He's a friend. You're making this ugly because you don't like what he's saying. I don't like that your ex is helping you interpret our relationship. So I can't speak to anyone who knew me before you?" That's not what I said. The conversation went the way too many of ours had started going. I asked for a boundary. She heard control. She asked for emotion. I answered with definitions. 2 weeks later, she came home on a Thursday night, sat across from me at the kitchen table, and told me we needed exactly 90 days apart. Not some time. Not a few weeks. 90 days. She had the rules typed in the Notes app on her phone. No calls unless there was an emergency. No checking each other's location. No asking mutual friends for information. No showing up at family events just to see each other. At the end of 90 days, we would meet and decide whether we were choosing each other because we still loved each other, not because 6 years was difficult to throw away. I sat there listening to the refrigerator hum behind her. "Why 90? I asked. "Because 30 is too short and 6 months is basically ending it." "And what does apart mean?" "It means space." "Are we exclusive?" She looked annoyed, as if I had dragged something crude into a thoughtful conversation. "Why is that your first question?" "Because you're asking me to act like your partner while not being allowed to speak to you. I need to know what agreement you're asking for." She scrolled down the note and read another line. "Neither of us should do anything meant to hurt the other person." That isn't an answer. "I don't want you replacing me in 3 weeks because you're angry." Does that apply to you? "I'm not planning to date anyone." That still isn't an answer. She stood up and started pacing between the table and the sink. "This is exactly why I need space. You turn everything into a contract. Because the rules only become vague when they apply to you." She stopped pacing. "I need to know what my life feels like without you managing it. I need to know whether I miss you or just miss being taken care of." That hurt, partly because it contained something true. I did manage a lot of our life. I also knew Maya benefited from it while resenting what it represented. I told her I would respect no contact, but I would not agree to wait in a relationship that only existed when it was convenient for her. "If either of us is free to explore, then both of us are free," I said. "That makes this a breakup. We can talk in 90 days, but I am not promising that the relationship will still be here." Her eyes filled, though she did not cry. "So after 6 years, you can just switch it off?" "No. That's why this hurts. But I won't sit on a shelf while you decide whether you want me." She called that cold. I called it the only boundary I understood. Before she went to stay with her sister, She stood in the bedroom doorway while I folded 2 of her sweaters into a bag. "The last time we were together was Sunday night, right?" she asked. I looked up. "No. Saturday. We got takeout Sunday because you had a headache." "Are you sure?" "Yes. I bought cold medicine on the way home Saturday afternoon. The receipt is still in my email." She stared at me for a second, then nodded. "Right. Saturday." At the time, I thought she was trying to hold on to an intimate detail. Later, it became one of the moments I replayed most. After she left, I sent one text so neither of us could pretend we had agreed to something else. I wrote, "I will respect 90 days of no contact. I do not agree to unequal exclusivity or to waiting as your committed partner while you are not committed to me. I consider us broken up during this period. We can meet on day 90 if we both still want to." She replied, "If that is how little faith you have in us, fine." She never wrote that we were exclusive. She never corrected my summary. She also never said goodbye. The first week was mostly practical. I removed her as an authorized user from my individual credit card. I stopped paying the streaming service she used alone, her cloud storage, and a monthly fitness app that had been charging my card for years. I changed the passwords on accounts that belonged only to me. I left her share of our genuinely joint savings untouched and sent her a written inventory of shared furniture, deposits, and recurring bills. I did not empty accounts. I did not take her belongings outside. I did not send angry messages. I boxed up the things she had asked Tessa to collect and left her toiletries where they were because I could not bring myself to clear the bathroom completely. 3 days into the break, a reservation confirmation appeared in an old travel inbox we had once used for trips. It listed Maya as the guest, Evan as the second guest, and 2 nights at a hotel about an hour away. Maya's own card had paid for it. I saw the subject line. I did not open it. At the time, I told myself it didn't matter. I had called the break a breakup. She had not agreed to exclusivity. Whatever she did was not my business. That did not stop me from staring at the unopened email until the screen dimmed. The next few weeks were quieter than I expected. I went to work, ate dinner alone, and woke up reaching for someone who was not there. The chipped blue mug stayed in its usual spot because moving it felt too dramatic. Her shampoo remained in the shower because throwing it away felt like admitting she was not coming back. On day 30, I almost called her. A mutual friend had mentioned that Maya seemed excited but complicated. He assumed I knew what that meant. I told him I did not want reports and asked him not to mention her again. Then I sat in my car for 20 minutes with her number open on my phone. I did not call. By day 60, I had stopped checking the countdown every morning. By day 80, I believed she might not return at all. I had begun preparing myself for the possibility that our final conversation had already happened at the kitchen table. On day 90, at 7:12 p.m., she knocked on the door. She was wearing a loose cream blouse and holding a large brown envelope. She looked tired, nervous, and strangely hopeful. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. She sat at the same table where she had proposed the break and slid an ultrasound image toward me. "I'm pregnant," she said, "and it's yours." For a few seconds, every sound in the room seemed to disappear. I looked at the small gray shape on the image. My first feeling was not suspicion. It was a sharp, terrifying tenderness. I imagined a crib. I imagined calling my sister. I imagined Maya standing in the bathroom doorway with a baby against her shoulder. Then I saw the printed exam date. It was from day 44 of the break. "How far along are you?" I asked. "A little over 13 weeks. "When did you find out?" "A few weeks ago. I needed time to process it." "What does a few weeks mean?" She pulled the ultrasound back slightly. "Henry, please don't do this right now. I'm asking because the exam date is 6 weeks ago. That was just an early appointment. I wasn't ready to tell you." "What did they date the pregnancy at during that appointment?" She pressed her lips together. 8 weeks and 2 days. I counted without meaning to. At that dating, the estimated conception window sat close to the beginning of our separation. Close enough that the last time Maya and I had been together might matter. Close enough that someone else might matter too. An ultrasound estimate could not identify a father. I knew that. I also knew her certainty did not match the uncertainty of the dates. "You said the baby is mine," I said. "How do you know?" Her face changed. "Because I know my body. Because we were together right before the break. Because we were together for 6 years. Pick one." The last time we were together was 4 days before the break started. It was the night before. No, it wasn't. Are you really going to argue about which night we were intimate while I'm telling you I'm carrying your child? I hated how clinical my next sentence sounded, but I said it anyway. I'm not saying the baby can't be mine. I'm saying we don't know yet. She stared at me as if I had struck her. I came back because you're the person I trusted for 6 years. Did you sleep with Evan? Evan and I were not together. That wasn't my question. We talked. Things were confusing. It didn't become what I thought it might become. Did you sleep with him? She stood up. I have spent 90 days trying to figure out whether I still had a future with you, and I came here pregnant and scared. You get 10 minutes into this conversation before treating me like a witness. Because you are asking me to say I am the father before answering whether there is another possible father. She started crying then. Not loudly. She covered her mouth and turned toward the sink. I softened my tone, but I did not change the question. I said that too coldly. I'm still not taking the question back. She wiped her face. I need you to show up. I need you at the next appointment. I need us to tell our families. I can't do this while you stand there acting like a stranger. I will cooperate with a proper paternity test. If the baby is mine, I will take responsibility. But I am not restarting the relationship tonight, and I am not announcing something as fact when it isn't confirmed. She took the ultrasound and left. Only after the door closed did I realize my hand was shaking. I sat at the table for nearly an hour. Then I picked up the ultrasound image she had accidentally left behind. I touched the corner, looked at the tiny profile, and let myself imagine for one reckless minute that the baby was mine. The next morning, I sent her a text. I want to be clear. I am not denying the possibility that I am the father. I will cooperate with medically appropriate testing, and, if confirmed, I will meet every responsibility. Until then, I will not make a public claim, sign anything, or provide unrestricted money based on an uncertain timeline. Please send the due date, the date of the first positive test, the date of the first appointment, and the dating information you were given. Maya forwarded only part of that message to our family group chat. She posted the lines about not making a public claim, not signing anything, and not providing money. She cut off the sentence about testing and responsibility. Then she wrote, "He is rejecting the baby because his ego is hurt that I needed space." Diane, Maya's mother, replied first. A child should not have to earn belief through paperwork. Maya's aunt wrote that I had wasted 6 years of her niece's life. One of her cousins said a real man would attend appointments first and ask questions later. My sister Rachel called me privately. "Tell me you didn't just say no and send her away." I didn't. I said I would test. Could you at least go to an appointment? You don't have to sign anything. And sit there as what? Her ex? A possible father? The father she is already telling everyone I am. Rachel was quiet. "I don't know," she said. "But if there's a chance, I don't want you to miss something you can't get back." That was the argument that got through to me. Not Diane's idea of duty. Not the group chat. The possibility that my caution might cost me a first heartbeat or a moment I would later wish I had seen. I agreed to attend a family dinner 4 days later. Maya called it a small celebration. I considered it a conversation. At dinner, Diane had set out sparkling cider and a cake with pale yellow frosting. Maya sat between Diane and Tessa. Tessa kept looking at her phone and then at me. Diane raised her glass. To Maya, to the baby, and to almost 15 weeks of something beautiful, even if the beginning has been difficult. I looked at Maya. She looked down. Almost 15. I asked. Diane smiled. "That's what the first appointment said, isn't it?" "No," Maya said quickly. "I'm barely 13. Mom got mixed up." Tessa set her fork down. "The due date you told Mom was in early spring," she said quietly. Maya turned toward her. "I told her the first estimate. They changed it." "You told me a different date too," Tessa said. Diane interrupted. "Why are we making this stressful? Due dates change all the time." "They can," I said. "That's why I need to know which one Maya wants me to use when I speak to a doctor, a testing provider, or an attorney." The word attorney made the room freeze. Maya stared at me. "You brought a lawyer into this?" "Not yet. I am asking for accurate information before I make decisions." "You're writing things down at a baby dinner." I had opened the notes app on my phone without realizing how it looked. "Yes," I said, "because I have now heard 13 weeks, almost 15 weeks, and 2 due dates." I did not accuse her. I did not mention Evan. I asked her to text me the due date she wanted considered current and the history of her appointments. She sent one due date later that night. She did not send the appointment history. That was when I made the timeline. I created a table with 4 columns: date, Maya's claim, supporting record, and uncertainty. I labeled anything I could not verify as a claim. I did not write lie next to anything. I wrote conflicts with earlier statement or not confirmed. Day -4. Our last intimacy, supported by the pharmacy receipt, a calendar event the next morning, and my memory. Day 0. The breakup conversation and my written summary. Day 3. The unopened reservation in the shared travel inbox. Day 44. The first ultrasound, dated at 8 weeks and 2 days. Day 63. The date Maya later claimed she first learned she was pregnant. Day 90. Her return. The math did not prove who the father was. It proved only that her certainty was not medically justified and that she had known far earlier than she admitted. I sent her 5 direct questions and asked for 1 written answer to each. She answered 2. She changed the date of our last intimacy from the night before the break to 2 days before the break. She said she could not remember the date of the first positive test because she had taken several. She did not answer when she first saw Evan. When I asked again, she wrote, "Why are you more interested in prosecuting the timeline than caring about the baby?" I contacted an attorney named Dana Ruiz for a consultation. She was careful from the start. "I can give you general guidance," she said, "but paternity procedures and the effect of signing documents can vary by state. Do not assume a rule you read online applies to you." She separated the situation into 3 questions. Was I Maya's partner? No. Was I the biological father? Unknown. Would I become the legal father by biology, agreement, conduct, or some formal process? That depended on facts and local law. Do not sign a voluntary acknowledgement you do not understand, Dana said. Do not let anyone tell you that asking questions is the same as abandoning a child. At the same time, do not interfere with her medical care or use money to pressure her decisions. Keep communication factual. Offer a reliable testing process. She gave me a list of questions to ask a qualified provider and told me to seek local counsel if Maya initiated any formal action. I contacted an accredited testing provider. The representative explained that a non-invasive prenatal test might be available if Maya consented and her medical provider considered it appropriate. Identity verification mattered. Chain of custody mattered if the result might later be used legally. Results would not be instant. The cost was significant. I offered in writing to pay the provider directly for the full cost. I will not send cash, I told Maya. I will pay the accredited provider directly. If prenatal testing is not something you want or your clinician advises against it, I will cooperate with a documented test immediately after birth. She refused before asking the price, the procedure, or the timing. I will not let you put the baby through a test because you are jealous of Evan, she wrote. I answered, the test described does not require a fetal sample. Please speak with your clinician and the provider. I am not asking you to accept my description of it. She wrote back, any test is an accusation. I repeated the offer once more, then stopped arguing. Rachel still thought I could contribute something small toward ordinary pregnancy costs. Pay the doctor directly, she suggested, or buy vitamins. Something that says you aren't punishing the baby. I don't know what bills are hers, what insurance covers, or what Evan is paying, I said. You also don't know that Evan is paying anything. That's true. I did not enjoy that conversation. Rachel was not attacking me. She was asking whether boundaries had become an excuse to avoid compassion. I considered paying a medical bill directly, but Maya would not provide one. She wanted a monthly transfer and access to the card I had removed her from. I declined. Then Diane texted me privately. Even if the dates overlap a little, everyone knows who has actually been there for 6 years. Biology is not the only thing that makes a father. I read the message 3 times. Then I replied, what overlap? Maya says there is no other possibility. Diane did not answer for almost an hour. Finally, she wrote, I am not discussing my daughter's private life with you. The point is that commitment matters more than technicalities. That message changed something in me. Until then, part of me still believed the confusion might be panic, bad memory, or family members repeating information carelessly. Diane had just admitted she knew the dates could overlap while publicly accusing me of inventing doubt. I saved the message. The next morning, I opened the old reservation email. The stay began on day 3 of the break. 2 guests, Maya and Evan. 2 nights. 1 room. Again, it did not prove paternity. It also did not prove she had violated an agreement, because there had been no mutual exclusivity agreement. It proved that Evan had not appeared late in the break after Maya, and I had already drifted apart. He had been there almost immediately. I texted Maya one narrow question. What day did you first see Evan in person after our breakup? She responded, You do not get to interrogate my private life during a break. You are asking me to claim a pregnancy that began near the start of that break. The date is relevant. You are spying on me. I had not told her about the reservation. Her accusation told me she knew there was something specific to find. 2 days later, an old tablet on my desk lit up with a notification from our shared cloud folder. Maya and I had used a folder called Paperwork for insurance cards, lease documents, and receipts. I had forgotten the tablet was still signed in. The notification said a new image had been added. The preview showed part of a text conversation and Tessa's name at the top. I stared at it without opening it. I knew there was a real ethical question. Maya may have saved the image to the wrong folder. It may not have been intended for me. Opening it would not be the same as receiving a direct message. I also knew that she was asking me to accept permanent emotional, financial, and possibly legal obligations while refusing to disclose whether another man might be the father. I opened it. The image was a screenshot Maya had apparently sent to Tessa. It showed a conversation between Maya and Evan. Maya, if the dates point to you, what are you going to do? Evan, I told you. I'm not promising anything without a test. Maya, Henry won't make me do this alone. Evan, then go back to Henry. That's what you were always going to do. Below the screenshot, in Maya's message to Tessa, were the words, He knows Henry will stand up. Henry always does. I felt something inside me go very still. The pregnancy uncertainty was painful. The possibility that Maya had been with someone else during a breakup was painful too, but I had already accepted that possibility when I refused her unequal rules. This was different. She had asked Evan what he would do if the child were his before she came back to me. She knew I was not the only possible father. She believed my dependability would carry the consequences if Evan declined. I saved the image as it appeared and the access log showing it had synced into our shared folder. I did not send it to anyone. I did not post it. I did not confront Tessa. Instead, I contacted Evan. I wrote, I am not asking for details about your relationship with Maya. I need one answer because she is asking me to accept paternity. Before day 90, did Maya tell you the baby might be yours? He responded 3 hours later. Yes. I told her I wanted a test. I am not discussing anything else. I replied, understood. I will not contact you again unless required through a formal process. He did not apologize. He did not offer to help. His message was useful only because it confirmed the central fact Maya and her family were denying. The following day, Diane announced a family meeting at her house. She said both families needed to stop the hostility and make a plan for the baby. I told Rachel I would go. Are you going to show them everything? She asked. Only what is necessary. That sounds like a yes. They are telling people I am rejecting a child I know is mine. I need that to stop. Rachel exhaled. Then don't go there to punish her. I am going there to correct the story. Those can look the same from the outside. She was right, and I knew it. I printed a one-page timeline. I did not print intimate messages. I did not include the ultrasound image itself. Only the exam date and dating language Maya had already shown both families. I printed my break summary text, the reservation header, my 2 written test offers, Diane's overlap message, the cloud screenshot, and Evan's 1-sentence confirmation. I also wrote 7 questions on a separate page. I decided I would not present anything until Maya had the opportunity to state her version clearly. Part of that was fairness. Part of it was strategy. I did not want the meeting to become another argument about what she had really meant. At Diane's house, 11 people were waiting. Maya sat on the couch with both hands over her stomach. Rachel sat beside me. Tessa stayed near the doorway. Diane opened by saying no one was there to attack anyone. Then, for nearly 10 minutes, several people attacked me. Maya said I had agreed to wait for her, and then punished her for taking the space we both needed. She said she had not seriously dated anyone. She said she had never doubted I was the father. She said my request for testing was retaliation because she had left. I learned I was pregnant around day 63, she said. I came back as soon as I knew what I wanted. The ultrasound in my folder was dated day 44. Diane turned to me. You have hurt her. Are you ready to stop making this child pay for your pride? I looked at Maya. Are you finished? I asked. That's all you have to say? I want to ask 7 questions. Then I will answer. Diane started to object, but Rachel said, let him ask. I placed the blank timeline page in front of me. What date did the 90-day break begin? Maya answered. What date were we last intimate? She gave a date 3 days later than the one she had confirmed before leaving and 1 day later than the date she had given me in writing after returning. I wrote it down. What date did you first get a positive test? I told you, around day 63. What date was the first ultrasound? That was not a full appointment. It was just a confirmation. What date? She gave the correct date because it was printed on the image. A few people in the room looked at each other. What due date were you first given? She named the later date she had sent me. Tessa quietly said, that's not the one you told Mom. Diane snapped, Tessa, enough. I continued. What date did you first see Evan after the break began? Maya's face tightened. I don't remember. Was it before or after the first ultrasound? He is not relevant. Last question. What date did Evan tell you he would not continue a relationship without a paternity test? The room went silent. Maya looked at me for a long time. There was never another possible father, she said. I put the 1-page timeline on the coffee table. Then the records should be easy to explain. I did not hand copies around. I walked through them in order. My text on day 0 said the relationship was over during the separation and that there was no promise of exclusivity. Maya's reply did not correct that. The hotel reservation began on day 3 and named Evan as the second guest. The first ultrasound happened on day 44 and dated the pregnancy at 8 weeks and 2 days. I stated clearly that this could only estimate a window and could not identify a father. Maya had given 2 due dates and 3 versions of when she first learned she was pregnant. I had offered twice to pay an accredited provider directly for properly documented testing or to test after birth if prenatal testing did not happen. Then I placed Diane's message on top. Even if the dates overlap a little, I read, everyone knows who has actually been there for 6 years. Diane's face drained. That was taken out of context, she said. The context is that Maya told everyone there was no overlap. Finally, I placed the screenshot from the shared folder beside Evan's confirmation. I did not read the whole screenshot aloud. I read only the lines establishing that Maya had asked Evan what he would do if the dates pointed to him and that he had demanded a test. Maya stood so quickly that Tessa reached toward her. You went through my private files. It synced into our shared paperwork folder. I hesitated before opening it. I understand why you are angry about that. It does not change what it says. You contacted Evan? I asked one question. He confirmed you told him the baby might be his before you came back to me. Diane said, Henry, she was scared. I know she was scared. Fear does not give her the right to remove my informed choice. Maya's voice broke. I believed it was probably yours. Probably is not what you told me. Because I knew what you would do if I said there was uncertainty. I offered testing. You would have pulled away. You did pull away. Because you came back asking me to accept certainty you did not have. She pressed both hands against the front of her blouse. Evan and I tried to reconnect. It was not serious the way you were making it sound. You booked a hotel with him 3 days after leaving. We weren't in a relationship. I asked whether you stayed with him, not what label you used. She looked around the room as if someone might give her a better answer. Tessa was crying silently. Why did you tell me Henry was the only possibility? Tessa asked. Maya turned toward her. I said he was the most likely possibility. No, Tessa said. You said Evan had panicked and Henry would step up. Maya sat down again. For the first time, she stopped denying the sequence. She said Evan had told her he would only try again if she was genuinely single. She had wanted to know whether the intensity she remembered with him was real or just nostalgia. She had not wanted me to date because the idea of losing me made the experiment feel too risky. She did not say it that plainly all at once. It came out in pieces, each one narrower than the last. I didn't want you to move on before I knew. I thought Evan and I might have unfinished business. I thought once I knew which future I wanted, I could explain it. Then I found out I was pregnant. Evan would not promise anything. I panicked. I asked her one question. Did you want me to make an informed choice? She looked at the floor. I thought once you saw the baby as ours, The dates would stop matching. That sentence ended the relationship more completely than any test result ever could. I gathered the papers back into the folder. The break did not lead you back to me, I said. It kept me available until Evan stopped being available to you. I did not feel victorious saying it. I felt tired. Maya asked whether we could speak privately. Not about reconciliation, I said. That is over. Contact me about testing or necessary financial separation. Nothing else. Diane called me cruel as I stood to leave. One relative said I had humiliated a pregnant woman. Another said Maya had made mistakes, but I had turned the family into a courtroom. Rachel walked out with me. In the car, she said, "You were right about the facts." I looked at her. "That is not the same as saying I liked how it happened," she added. Neither did I. The next 2 months were quiet in a way that felt artificial. Maya refused prenatal testing. I returned her remaining belongings through Tessa. I removed Maya from my individual accounts and documented every shared item. I did not touch the joint funds without written agreement. Dana advised me to keep records and avoid signing anything until I had state-specific guidance and reliable results. While packing Maya's things, I found a note in my desk with her ring size. I had written it after she tried on a friend's engagement ring at dinner almost a year earlier. For several minutes, I sat on the floor holding that scrap of paper. The planned engagement had been real on my side. That mattered to me, even if it changed nothing. I also found a small board book I had bought 2 days after seeing the ultrasound. It was about a bear saying goodnight to different rooms in a house. I had hidden it in the back of a drawer because buying it felt foolish before a test. I kept it there. Maya continued sending emotional messages until I asked her to use one email address for necessary communication. She said I was treating her like a legal dispute. I said the relationship was over and the remaining issues were medical, financial, and potentially legal. I knew how cold that sounded. I also knew every emotional conversation became an attempt to get me to behave like the father before we knew whether I was one. When Maya went into labor, she texted me from the hospital. "Please come. Whatever happened between us, this baby may be yours. I don't want you to miss it." I spent nearly an hour staring at the message. Then I got dressed, picked up my keys, and started driving. Halfway there, I pulled into a gas station and sat under the fluorescent lights with both hands on the steering wheel. I wanted to go. I wanted to stand beside her, see the baby, and let 6 years of habit tell me what role to play. I also knew Maya had used every act of care as evidence that I had accepted her version. I called Rachel. "Tell me what to do," I said. "I can't," she replied. "Do you want to be there if the baby is yours?" "Yes." "Do you want to be there for Maya?" I closed my eyes. "No." "Then decide whether you can be present without pretending the second answer is yes." I could not. I turned around. I wrote Maya that I would cooperate immediately with the identity-verified post-birth test we had already discussed. I wished her a safe delivery. I did not go to the hospital. She sent me a photo the next morning. The baby had dark hair, a wrinkled forehead, and one tiny fist tucked under the chin. For one irrational second, I searched the face for myself. Then I stopped. Resemblance was not evidence, especially in a newborn. I arranged the test through the qualified provider. They verified identities, collected samples under documented procedures, and explained again that the report would take time. I paid the provider directly. Waiting was worse than I expected. I had spent months insisting that the baby might not be mine. Once there was an actual child, might felt heavier. I had 2 dreams that the results said I was the father and Maya refused to let me see the baby because I had missed the birth. I woke up sick with regret. When the report arrived, I opened it alone at my kitchen table. It excluded me as the biological father. I read the conclusion 2 times. My first feeling was relief. My second was shame for feeling relieved. My third was grief. I had not lost a child I had raised. I knew that. But for months I had lived beside the possibility of one. I had imagined a name, a car seat, a hand wrapped around my finger. I had bought a book. I had nearly walked into a hospital believing my life might change forever. The report ended the uncertainty. It did not erase the future I had briefly pictured. I sent the result through the channel Dana had advised and confirmed that I would not sign an acknowledgement or assume a parental role. I did not send Maya a cruel message. I did not contact Diane. I did not tell the extended family. Several weeks later, through communication necessary to close the matter, I learned that a formal process had confirmed Evan as the biological father. That did not create a happy reunion. Evan accepted that the result meant responsibilities he could no longer avoid, but he and Maya did not get back together. I did not ask for details. Some relatives apologized. Some did not. Rachel came to my house with takeout and said, "I repeated Maya's framing before I knew the facts. I thought you were using the test to punish her. I'm sorry." I accepted her apology. Tessa sent a shorter message. "I should have challenged her sooner. I knew Evan was a possibility. I did not know she was telling everyone you were certain. I'm sorry I helped the silence." I thanked her for being honest. I did not tell her it was all right, because it was not. Diane never apologized. She sent one message saying the result did not excuse the way I had destroyed Maya's support system in front of both families. I replied once, "The matter remained private until your family used public pressure to force me into a false claim." I corrected the claim in the same room where it was made. "Do not contact me again." Then I blocked her. Maya asked for one final meeting. She said she wanted to apologize in person and wanted me to meet the baby once, not as the father, but as someone who had mattered to her for 6 years. I considered it longer than I expected. Her written apology said she had been afraid. She said she had trusted that I would protect her because I always had. Even then, she described using me as if it were proof of my goodness instead of a violation of my choice. I declined the meeting. I wrote, "I hope your child is healthy and surrounded by adults who tell the truth about what affects that child's life. I do not want further emotional involvement. Please contact me only if something remains necessary to close our shared affairs." We closed the last joint account by written agreement. Tessa collected the final box from my house. After she left, I stood in the kitchen looking at the chipped blue mug. I had packed it with Maya's things because she was the one who always used it. Then I remembered it had originally been mine. She had claimed it by habit, not ownership. I washed it and put it back in the cabinet. The board book was still in the desk drawer. I donated it unopened. I removed the 90-day countdown from my calendar. I did not replace it with a dramatic message or a new beginning. I just deleted the event. People who still criticize me say I was too clinical, that I could have attended appointments without signing anything, that I let Maya repeat her story at the family meeting because I wanted the contradiction to hurt more when I exposed it. There is truth in some of that. I was angry. I wanted the people who had called me selfish to hear Maya's certainty collapse in her own words. Precision became the way I kept myself from begging, shouting, or accepting a life built on a lie. But I do not regret refusing to sign. I do not regret paying for a reliable test instead of financing certainty by repetition. I do not regret ending the relationship before the result arrived, because biology was not the betrayal that ended us. The betrayal was that Maya wanted freedom for herself, availability from me, and commitment before disclosure. She believed my dependability was a resource she could claim even after she stopped treating me like a person entitled to the truth. I can admit that I loved her. I can admit that I cared about the baby before I knew the answer. I can also admit that care without consent is not a permanent obligation. The mug is still in my cabinet. I use it sometimes on Monday mornings. It no longer feels like evidence of the life Maya and I built. It is just a mug I chose to keep. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.